Introduction to the Cyber Kill Chain. Overview. In an increasingly digital world, cyber threats have evolved in both complexity and frequency. Organizations must adapt their defense mechanisms to detect, respond to, and recover from cyber attacks more effectively. One of the frameworks that has emerged to assist cybersecurity professionals in understanding and countering cyber threats is the Cyber Kill Chain, CKC. Developed by Lockheed Martin in 2011, the Cyber Kill Chain is a model that breaks down the various stages of a cyber attack to better understand attacker tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs. The concept of a kill chain originally comes from the military, where it is used to define the structure of an attack, from identification to execution. In cybersecurity, the CKC borrows this concept to describe the sequence of stages adversaries pass through to achieve their goals. By dissecting an attack into these stages, defenders can pinpoint where they can intervene and thwart malicious activities. Origins and purpose. The Cyber Kill Chain was proposed as a part of Lockheed Martin's intelligence-driven defense approach. This methodology focuses on analyzing adversary behaviors to build defense mechanisms tailored to stop or delay attacks at any point in the chain. The main goal is to make it harder and more costly for attackers to succeed. Traditional security measures often focused on perimeter defense, patching, and malware detection. While important, these approaches failed to address the full life cycle of an attack. The CKC allows defenders to step into the mindset of the attacker, proactively identify threats, and develop countermeasures that disrupt or degrade adversary campaigns throughout their progression. The 7 stages of the Cyber Kill Chain. Each stage of the Cyber Kill Chain represents a distinct step that an attacker takes, from early reconnaissance to data exfiltration. Understanding these stages enables defenders to build multiple layers of defense, enhancing an organization's security posture. 1. Reconnaissance. Definition: the attacker gathers information about the target organization, its infrastructure, employees, technologies, and potential vulnerabilities. Activities include scanning public websites and social media, gathering email addresses and employee data, identifying exposed assets, e.g., open ports, DNS records, mapping network topology. Defensive measures: monitor external traffic for unusual scanning, reduce the amount of public-facing data, employ deception technologies to mislead attackers. Reconnaissance is the foundation of a cyber attack. Without understanding the target environment, adversaries cannot proceed effectively. Detecting and responding to this phase is challenging due to its passive nature, but threat intelligence can aid in identifying patterns. 2. Weaponization. Definition: the attacker couples a remote access Trojan, RAT, or other malware with an exploit into a deliverable payload, e.g., PDF, Word document, or malicious link. Activities include creating spear phishing documents, crafting exploit kits, packaging malware to evade antivirus software. Defensive measures: advanced malware analysis and sandboxing, threat intelligence to detect known TTPs, implementing secure software development practices. This stage is typically done off-site and leaves no footprint on the victim's systems. However, defenders can leverage threat intelligence and malware signatures to detect commonly used tools and payloads. 3. Delivery. Definition: the weaponized payload is transmitted to the target via a chosen attack vector such as email, USB drive, or malicious website. Common delivery methods: phishing emails with malicious attachments or links, drive-by downloads from compromised websites, removable media, e.g., USB drives. Insider threats. Defensive measures: email filtering and anti-phishing tools, web filtering and DNS layer security, security awareness training for employees. The delivery phase is one of the few stages where the attacker makes contact with the victim's environment. This provides a critical opportunity to block or quarantine threats before they reach end users. 4. Exploitation. Definition: once the payload is delivered, it triggers the exploit to gain control over the target system by exploiting a vulnerability. Common exploits: buffer overflows, zero-day vulnerabilities, macro-based scripts in Office documents. Defensive measures: keep systems and software updated. Use of endpoint detection and response (EDR) tools. Application whitelisting and sandboxing. Successful exploitation enables the attacker to execute commands or gain administrative privileges on the compromised system. Defenders must minimize the attack surface by hardening endpoints and maintaining a strict patch management regime. 5. Installation. Definition: the attacker installs malware or a backdoor that enables persistent access to the compromised system. Examples: installing remote access trojans, RATs. Dropping keyloggers or credential stealers. Registering malicious services. Defensive measures: host-based intrusion detection systems, HIDS. File integrity monitoring. Behavioral analysis to detect persistence techniques. Persistence mechanisms allow attackers to retain control even after reboots or disconnections. Early detection at this stage is vital to preventing deeper infiltration. 6. Command and control, C2. Definition: the attacker establishes communication between the compromised system and a remote server to issue commands and extract data. C2 techniques: HTTP/HTTPS tunneling, DNS tunneling, covert channels and legitimate traffic. Defensive measures: network traffic monitoring and anomaly detection. DNS and IP reputation services. Firewall rules and segmentation. C2 communication is essential for real-time control and data exfiltration. Blocking these channels effectively severs the attacker's control over the compromised systems. 7. Actions on objectives. Definition: the attacker proceeds with their intended goals, such as data theft, system disruption, espionage, or financial gain. Possible objectives: exfiltration of sensitive data, ransomware deployment, lateral movement and privilege escalation, destruction or defacement of systems. Defensive measures: data loss prevention, DLP, systems, network segmentation and access controls, incident response and forensics capabilities. This final stage determines the true impact of the attack. It can occur over a prolonged period if undetected, and may involve sophisticated techniques to evade detection. Significance of the cyber kill chain. The CKC is valuable for several reasons. Proactive defense: by understanding the sequence of an attack, organizations can identify opportunities to stop it before completion. Detection and response: the framework provides a structured approach to detect threats at various stages. Threat hunting: it offers guidance for cybersecurity teams to search for indicators of compromise, IOCs, and attacker behaviors. Incident analysis: post-incident reviews can be mapped to the CKC stages to understand what went wrong and where improvements are needed. Criticisms and limitations. While the CKC is widely adopted, it is not without criticism. 1. Linear nature: real-world attacks do not always follow a neat, linear sequence. Attackers may jump stages or revisit them multiple times. 2. Insider threats: the model is more suited for external attacks. It lacks the nuance to fully describe insider threats or supply chain attacks. 3. Cloud and modern infrastructure: with the rise of cloud computing and containerization, traditional network perimeters are becoming obsolete, challenging the relevance of some CKC stages. 4. Focus on malware: the CKC emphasizes malware-based attacks but does not adequately account for fileless or living off the land (LOTL) techniques. Extensions and alternatives. Due to these limitations, several alternatives or extensions have been proposed. MITRE ATT and CK Framework offers a more granular and nonlinear matrix of attacker behaviors across various platforms. Unified Kill Chain combines the CKC with MITRE's ATT and CK to create a more comprehensive and realistic threat model. Diamond model of intrusion analysis focuses on the relationships between adversaries, capabilities, infrastructure, and victims. Real-world applications. The CKC has been successfully applied in various domains. Defense industry. Used by military and government agencies for advanced persistent threat (APT) detection. Financial sector helps banks prevent fraud and data breaches. Healthcare assists in protecting sensitive patient data against ransomware. Organizations use the CKC to structure red team exercises, simulate attacks, and enhance their blue team's detection and response capabilities. The cyber kill chain remains a foundational model in cybersecurity. Despite its limitations, it provides a valuable lens through which security professionals can understand and disrupt adversary operations. As cyber threats evolve, integrating the CKC with modern frameworks like MITRE ATT and CK ensures a more robust and adaptive defense strategy. By leveraging the cyber kill chain as part of a holistic security approach, organizations can build resilience, reduce dwell time, and protect critical assets from a wide spectrum of threats. Reconnaissance in the cyber kill chain. Introduction. The cyber kill chain, developed by Lockheed Martin, outlines the stages of a cyber attack, providing a framework for understanding and defending against cyber threats. The first phase, reconnaissance, is pivotal as it sets the foundation for the attacker's strategy by gathering information about the target. This phase involves collecting data to identify vulnerabilities and plan subsequent attack steps. 1. Objectives of reconnaissance. The primary goal of reconnaissance is to collect as much information as possible about the target to identify potential entry points and vulnerabilities. This information enables attackers to tailor their attack vectors effectively. 2. Types of reconnaissance. Reconnaissance can be categorized into two main types. A. Passive reconnaissance. Involves gathering information without directly interacting with the target systems, thereby reducing the risk of detection. Techniques. Open source intelligence, often collecting data from publicly available sources such as websites, social media, and public records. WHOIS lookups, identifying domain registration details. DNS interrogation, gathering information about domain names and associated IP addresses. B. Active reconnaissance. Involves direct interaction with the target systems, which increases the risk of detection but can yield more detailed information. Techniques. Port scanning, identifying open ports and services running on the target system. Network mapping, determining the network topology and identifying devices. Vulnerability scanning, detecting known vulnerabilities in systems and applications. 3. Information gathered. During reconnaissance, attackers aim to collect technical information, IP addresses, domain names, network infrastructure, and system configurations. Organizational information, company structure, employee roles, and contact details. Technological stack. Details about the software and hardware used by the organization. Security measures, information about firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and other security protocols. 4. Tools used. Attackers utilize various tools for reconnaissance. MAP, for network discovery and security auditing. Multigo, for graphical link analysis and data mining. Shodan, a search engine for internet-connected devices. The Harvester, for gathering emails, subdomains, and other information. Reconning, a reconnaissance framework with independent modules. 5. Defensive measures. Organizations can implement several strategies to mitigate reconnaissance activities. Information control, limiting the amount of publicly available information about the organization. Network monitoring, detecting unusual scanning activities or access attempts. Security policies, implementing strict access controls and regularly updating security protocols. Employee training. Educating staff about social engineering tactics and phishing attempts. 6. Real-world implications. Effective reconnaissance can lead to highly targeted attacks, such as spear phishing campaigns or exploiting specific vulnerabilities. For instance, attackers may use information gathered during reconnaissance to craft convincing emails that appear to come from trusted sources, increasing the likelihood of successful phishing attacks. Reconnaissance is a critical phase in the cyber kill chain, as it enables attackers to gather the necessary information to plan and execute subsequent stages of an attack. By understanding the methods and tools used during this phase, organizations can implement appropriate defensive measures to detect and prevent potential threats early in the attack lifecycle. Reconnaissance is a silent battlefield where attackers and defenders play an invisible game of intelligence and counterintelligence. While it may not involve any exploitation or system compromise on its own, it is the foundation of every major cyber attack. Organizations that invest in identifying and mitigating reconnaissance activities stand a far better chance at interrupting the kill chain early, minimizing impact, and safeguarding critical assets. By treating reconnaissance as a threat rather than a harmless phase, defenders can disrupt attacks before they even begin. Reconnaissance, often referred to as the information gathering phase, is the first and arguably most crucial step in the cyber kill chain. This stage provides attackers with vital data about a target's systems, defenses, personnel, and potential vulnerabilities. It is during reconnaissance that an attacker lays the groundwork for crafting precise, stealthy, and successful intrusion strategies. Much like a thief who studies a neighborhood before a break-in, watching routines, identifying alarms, and noting entry points. A cyber attacker systematically examines digital terrain to determine the best method of attack. The success of later phases like weaponization, delivery, or exploitation depends heavily on the quality and thoroughness of reconnaissance. Types of reconnaissance. 1. Passive reconnaissance. In this approach, attackers collect information without engaging directly with the target's systems. Common passive methods. WHOIS lookups, discover domain ownership, registrar information, contact details, and name servers. DNS enumeration, extract zone information, subdomains, mail servers, MX, and name servers, NS. Social media mining, employee titles, email formats, habits, and associations. Search engines, Google dorking finds sensitive information accidentally exposed. Public records and forums, government filings, technical support forums, data leaks. Metadata extraction, documents posted on public websites may reveal usernames, software versions, and timestamps. Advantages for attackers. Low risk of detection. No engagement with the target's live systems. Effective for planning tailored social engineering campaigns. 2. Active reconnaissance. Active reconnaissance requires direct interaction with the target's systems. While more risky, it yields more detailed results. Common active techniques. Port scanning, identifying open ports and services, e.g., SSH, HTTP, SMB. Service enumeration, detecting service versions and configurations. OS fingerprinting, using packet responses to identify operating systems. Web application probing, testing endpoints for input validation, authentication schemes, and session management. Network sniffing, capturing packets using tools like Wireshark to observe traffic on local or open networks. Ping sweeps, discovering live hosts within a network. Risks. Triggers intrusion detection/prevention systems. Can lead to early detection if anomaly-based detection is in place. May be logged by firewalls or endpoint detection tools. Tools used in reconnaissance. Passive reconnaissance tools. The Harvester gathers emails, domains, subdomains, and hostnames. Multigo, visual link analysis tool for mapping relationships between people, networks, and domains. Reconning, modular framework for OSINT gathering. Google dorking operators, file type, entitle, inurl, etc. Shodan and Sensis, search engines for internet-connected devices and services. Active reconnaissance tools. MAP, port scanning, OS fingerprinting, and scriptable service discovery. Netcat, for banner grabbing and testing ports. Nikto, web server scanning tool. OpenVAS, full-featured vulnerability scanner. FOCA, extracts metadata from publicly available files. Information typically collected. Human-focused reconnaissance, the role of social engineering. Many attacks don't target just systems, they target people. Reconnaissance may include mapping the org chart using LinkedIn, identifying executive assistants for CEO fraud, business email compromise, finding birth dates or pet names for password guessing, monitoring Facebook and Twitter posts to predict travel, vacations, or habits. Use of reconnaissance in modern threat campaigns. Advanced Persistent Threats, APTs. APT groups invest heavily in reconnaissance. Before the 2015 OPM breach, Chinese hackers reportedly spent months mapping internal networks and personnel records. Ransomware attacks. Groups like Conti and Lockbit use initial recon to determine which assets are most valuable and to plan lateral movement after initial access. Phishing campaigns. Tailored phishing emails often exploit knowledge about a person's job, coworkers, or projects, all gathered during recon. Counter-reconnaissance measures. Reducing the attack surface. Limit exposure of internal documents. Avoid publishing detailed staff directories. Remove metadata from uploaded documents. Network detection. Deploy honeypots and deceptive systems. Monitor for scam-like traffic. Enable logging of DNS and web traffic anomalies. People-centric defense. Train employees on social engineering risks. Use role-based access to reduce data exposure. Randomize email address formats and avoid predictable usernames. Detection techniques. Even though reconnaissance is often stealthy, there are signs organizations can monitor for: unusual DNS queries or high volume of subdomain lookups. Port scan attempts from the same IP block over time. Access attempts to decoy systems or hidden services. Traffic patterns consistent with network enumeration tools. Deception and threat intelligence. A proactive approach includes canary tokens, digital tripwires that alert when accessed. Decoy credentials, planted fake credentials that trigger alerts if used. Threat intelligence feeds, tracking IPs and behaviors of known recon actors. Weaponization in the cyber kill chain. 1. Introduction. The weaponization phase is the second step in the cyber kill chain framework developed by Lockheed Martin. Following the reconnaissance phase, where attackers gather information about their target, weaponization involves creating a tailored malicious payload designed to exploit identified vulnerabilities. This phase is critical as it bridges the gap between intelligence gathering and the actual delivery of the attack. 2. Objectives of weaponization. Develop a malicious payload, craft malware or exploit code that can compromise the target system. Pair payload with a delivery mechanism, embed the malicious code into a carrier, such as a document, email attachment, or website. Ensure stealth and effectiveness. Design the payload to evade detection by security systems and successfully exploit the target's vulnerabilities. 3. Components of weaponization. A. Exploit. An exploit is a piece of code that takes advantage of a vulnerability in a system, application, or service. Exploits can be known vulnerabilities, publicly disclosed and often patched. Zero-day vulnerabilities, previously unknown and unpatched, making them highly valuable and dangerous. B. Payload. The payload is the part of the weapon that performs the malicious action once delivered and executed. Common payloads include remote access Trojans. Routes allow attackers to control the system remotely. Keyloggers, record keystrokes to capture sensitive information. Ransomware, encrypts data and demands payment for decryption. Credential stealers, harvest login credentials from the system. 4. Techniques used in weaponization. A. Embedding in legitimate files. Attackers often embed malicious code within seemingly benign files to trick users into executing them. Examples include macro-enabled Office documents. Malicious macros execute when the document is opened. PDF files with embedded scripts. Scripts run upon opening the file. Executable files disguised as images or documents, using double extensions like invoice.pdf.exe. B. Obfuscation and encryption. To evade detection by antivirus software, attackers may obfuscate or encrypt their payloads. Techniques include code obfuscation, altering the code structure without changing its functionality. Packing, compressing or encrypting the payload to hide its contents. Polymorphism, changing the code with each infection to avoid signature-based detection. C. Utilizing exploit kits. Exploit kits are automated tools that contain a collection of exploits targeting various vulnerabilities. Attackers use them to streamline the weaponization process. Notable exploit kits include Angler, Neutrino, Rig. 5. Tools commonly used in weaponization. Metasploit Framework, an open-source tool for developing and executing exploit code against a remote target. MS Venom, a component of Metasploit used to generate payloads. Veil Evasion, designed to generate payloads that bypass antivirus detection. Cobalt Strike, a commercial tool for adversary simulations and red team operations. Empire, a post-exploitation framework that includes a variety of modules for maintaining access and gathering information. 6. Real-world examples. A. Stuxnet. Stuxnet was a sophisticated worm discovered in 2010, targeting Iranian nuclear facilities. In the weaponization phase, attackers developed multiple zero-day exploits and a payload designed to manipulate industrial control systems. The malware was delivered via infected USB drives and exploited specific vulnerabilities to spread and execute its payload. B. NotPetya. NotPetya, initially appearing as ransomware in 2017, was a destructive wiper malware. Attackers weaponized the malware by embedding it into a legitimate software update mechanism for a Ukrainian accounting program. Upon execution, it exploited the Eternal Blue vulnerability to spread rapidly across networks. 7. Defensive measures against weaponization. A. Patch management. Regularly updating software and systems to patch known vulnerabilities reduces the effectiveness of exploits used in weaponized attacks. B. Email and web filtering. Implementing robust email and web filtering solutions can block malicious attachments and links, preventing the delivery of weaponized payloads. C. User education. Training users to recognize phishing attempts and avoid opening suspicious files or links can mitigate the risk of executing weaponized content. D. Endpoint protection. Deploying advanced endpoint protection solutions that utilize behavioral analysis can detect and block malicious activities associated with weaponized payloads. The weaponization phase is a critical step in the cyber kill chain, where attackers transform gathered intelligence into a functional attack mechanism. Understanding this phase enables organizations to implement proactive defenses, such as timely patching, user education, and advanced threat detection, to disrupt the attack chain before it progresses further. Understanding the delivery phase. The delivery phase is the third step in the cyber kill chain framework, following reconnaissance and weaponization. In this phase, attackers transmit the weaponized payload to the target environment, marking the transition from preparation to active engagement with the target. The delivery phase. Key insights. The delivery phase is the stage in which an attacker actively transmits the weaponized payload to the target system or user. This phase is crucial because it marks the point where attackers initiate contact with the target. By understanding how attacks are delivered, defenders can set up preventive measures that can effectively block them. Key characteristics of the delivery phase. Direct interaction with the target. The delivery mechanism involves establishing an initial link between the attacker and the victim, whether that's a user, a network, or a specific device. Multiple attack vectors. The payload can be delivered in various ways. Attackers carefully choose their delivery vector based on the attack surface, the type of payload, and the target's vulnerabilities. Initial user interaction. For many attacks, user interaction is often required to trigger the payload, such as clicking on a link or opening a file. This means social engineering plays a pivotal role in this phase. Evasion and obfuscation. Many delivery methods are designed to bypass security mechanisms, e.g., email filters, web proxies, firewalls. This could involve the use of encryption, polymorphic malware, or other evasion techniques to prevent detection. Detailed delivery methods. Here, we break down the delivery methods in even more detail to cover various attack techniques. 1. Phishing and spear phishing. Phishing. Attackers send mass emails or messages disguised as legitimate sources, prompting the user to take an action, such as opening an attachment or clicking on a link that delivers the malicious payload. Spear phishing. Unlike general phishing, spear phishing is highly targeted. Attackers gather specific information about the victim, such as job title or recent activities, to craft a message that appears highly authentic. This increases the likelihood that the recipient will click the link or download the attachment. Example: an email that appears to come from a trusted source like a colleague or a service provider asking the recipient to open a malicious PDF document. 2. Web-based delivery, drive-by downloads. Drive-by downloads. When users visit a compromised website, the attacker can exploit vulnerabilities in the browser, plugins, or software to automatically download and execute the payload. This attack can occur without any user interaction, e.g., simply visiting the malicious site can trigger the exploit. Watering hole attacks. Attackers compromise websites frequented by their target audience and place malicious code on these sites. Once users visit the site, the malicious code is executed and the payload is delivered. Example: an attacker might compromise a popular financial news website, causing visitors to unknowingly download ransomware. 3. Malicious ads, malvertising. Malvertising. In this attack, malicious advertisements are injected into legitimate websites. When a user clicks on the ad or sometimes even views the ad, the malicious payload is downloaded to their device. This can lead to further exploitation, such as malware installation or credential theft. Example: a user visiting a trusted website sees an advertisement that, upon interaction, triggers an exploit leading to a malware infection. 4. Exploiting software vulnerabilities. Zero-day attacks. This involves exploiting unknown vulnerabilities, 0 days, in widely used software to deliver the payload. These attacks are especially dangerous as there are no patches or defenses available at the time of attack. Known vulnerabilities. Attackers can exploit vulnerabilities that have already been disclosed but may not have been patched by the victim. These can be used to install a payload on vulnerable systems. Example: the Eternal Blue exploit used in the WannaCry ransomware attack exploited a vulnerability in Windows SMBv1. 5. Removable media, USB drives. USB drop attacks. Attackers physically drop USB drives or external hard drives in public areas or near their target's premises. Curiosity leads the victim to plug the infected device into their computer, allowing the payload to be delivered. This method often targets individuals who have the tendency to connect external devices to their systems without suspicion. Example: an attacker may leave a USB drive with an enticing label, e.g., important or company bonuses, in an area where a target is likely to find it. Upon inserting it, malware is installed. Advanced delivery methods. As attackers adapt to modern defenses, they evolve their delivery methods. Some of the more advanced techniques include: 1. Fileless malware delivery. Fileless malware. This type of malware is delivered directly into memory rather than relying on traditional files. It takes advantage of system vulnerabilities or built-in tools such as PowerShell or WMI, Windows Management Instrumentation, to execute the payload. This allows attackers to evade traditional file-based antivirus detection systems. Example: an attacker may send a malicious PowerShell script through email, and once executed, the script installs malware directly into the system's memory. 2. DNS tunneling. DNS tunneling. Attackers use DNS queries and responses to pass the malicious payload between the attacker and the target. DNS is often left unmonitored and trusted, making it a hidden channel for payload delivery. Example: an attacker encodes malicious data into DNS queries sent from the compromised system to a remote server, bypassing traditional security filters. 3. Peer-to-peer, P2P. Malware distribution. P2P malware. In more sophisticated attacks, attackers can use P2P networks for distributing malware. This method allows the malware to spread from one compromised system to another, using the infected machines as peers to propagate the attack without relying on a central server. Example: malware that uses P2P networking protocols to download further payloads or exfiltrate data to other infected systems. Attackers' techniques for evasion in the delivery phase. 1. Use of polymorphism. Polymorphic payloads. These are payloads that constantly change their code to avoid detection by signature-based security systems. The payload's behavior remains the same, but its code is altered, making it more difficult for antivirus tools to detect it. 2. Encryption and obfuscation. Payload encryption. Attackers encrypt the payload before delivery, ensuring that it is disguised and unreadable by security tools during transit. Only after the payload is delivered and decrypted on the target machine does it become active. Obfuscation. This involves altering the structure of the payload to make it appear benign. Obfuscation hides the true intent of the malware, often making it harder for security systems to detect or analyze it. Defensive measures for the delivery phase. Preventing successful delivery is critical in stopping attacks early. Here are several defenses that can mitigate the risks associated with the delivery phase. 1. Strong email security and filtering. Spam filters. Implement strong email filtering solutions to block emails containing suspicious attachments or links. Advanced threat protection. ADP systems can analyze email attachments in a sandbox environment to determine whether they are malicious before they are opened by the user. 2. Web security measures. URL filtering and web gateways. Block known malicious websites, URLs, and IP addresses that deliver malware through drive-by downloads or watering hole attacks. Content security policies. CSP enforce content security policies on browsers to prevent malicious content from loading on trusted websites. 3. Endpoint detection and response, EDR. EDR solutions. Use EDR tools that detect abnormal behavior on endpoints, such as suspicious processes or unauthorized access attempts, which could indicate a delivery attempt. 4. User awareness and training. Social engineering training. Regularly train employees to recognize and report phishing emails, malicious attachments, and suspicious links. Simulated phishing campaigns. Conduct simulated phishing campaigns to test employee vigilance and raise awareness of common tactics used by attackers. 5. Zero Trust architecture. Zero Trust. Implement Zero Trust security models where each device and user must continuously verify their identity and authority, making it harder for attackers to deliver payloads successfully. Conclusion: delivery phase in the cyber kill chain. The delivery phase is a crucial part of the attack cycle. If attackers can successfully deliver their payload to the target, they are often only one step away from exploitation and potentially full system compromise. The methods and techniques used in the delivery phase continue to evolve as cyber threats become more sophisticated, and attackers develop new ways to evade detection. By understanding the delivery methods, potential attack vectors, and countermeasures, organizations can better prepare for and defend against attacks. This involves using a multi-layered security approach, focusing not only on detecting malicious payloads but also on minimizing vulnerabilities and educating users to be more aware of the risks. With this comprehensive understanding of the delivery phase, security teams can develop more effective defense strategies to stop attackers before they can proceed to the next stages of the cyber kill chain. Common delivery methods. Attackers employ various techniques to deliver the malicious payload. 1. Phishing emails, crafting emails with malicious attachments or links that, when opened, execute the payload. 2. Malicious websites, drive-by downloads compromising legitimate websites or setting up malicious sites that exploit browser vulnerabilities when visited. 3. Removable media, distributing infected USB drives or CDs, relying on users to connect them to their systems. 4. Exploiting vulnerabilities, leveraging known or zero-day vulnerabilities in software or hardware to deliver the payload directly. 5. Social engineering, manipulating individuals into performing actions that facilitate the delivery of the payload, such as downloading a file or visiting a website. Real-world examples. Spear phishing campaigns. Attackers craft targeted emails that appear legitimate, enticing recipients to open attachments or click on links, leading to the execution of the payload. Watering hole attacks, compromising websites frequented by the target audience, embedding malicious code that delivers the payload upon visit. USB drop attacks, leaving infected USB drives in public places, banking on curiosity to lead individuals to connect them to their systems, thereby delivering the payload. Defensive measures. To mitigate risks associated with the delivery phase. Email and web filtering, implement solutions that scan and filter out malicious emails and web content. User education and awareness, train users to recognize phishing attempts and avoid interacting with suspicious content. Regular software updates, ensure all systems and applications are up to date with the latest security patches to close known vulnerabilities. Endpoint protection. Deploy advanced endpoint protection solutions that can detect and block malicious payloads. Understanding the delivery phase is crucial for organizations to implement effective security measures that intercept threats before they can exploit vulnerabilities. By focusing on this phase, defenders can proactively disrupt the attack chain and protect their assets. Exploitation in the cyber kill chain, an in-depth analysis. 1. Introduction. The cyber kill chain, originally developed by Lockheed Martin, is a structured approach to identifying and preventing cyber intrusions. It breaks down the steps that adversaries typically follow when launching a cyber attack. The model includes the following 7 phases: reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, C2, and actions on objectives. Among these phases, exploitation marks a critical turning point in the attack lifecycle. It is the first phase where actual compromise occurs, where the malicious code is executed on the target system to exploit a vulnerability. Understanding this phase is crucial because, while earlier steps are largely preparatory, exploitation is the pivot that transforms intent into breach. 2. Definition of exploitation. In the context of the cyber kill chain, exploitation refers to the process where the attacker triggers the malicious payload, taking advantage of a specific vulnerability or weakness in the target system. This is the moment where control begins to shift from the user or system owner to the adversary. The success of exploitation typically relies on vulnerabilities in software, hardware, or human behavior. A successfully delivered weaponized payload from previous kill chain phases. The absence or failure of protective defenses like antivirus, intrusion detection systems, IDS, or proper user awareness training. 3. Relationship to the kill chain. Let's briefly revisit the cyber kill chain to contextualize the exploitation phase. 1. Reconnaissance. The attacker gathers information about the target. 2. Weaponization. Malware or exploits are crafted based on reconnaissance. 3. Delivery. The weaponized payload is sent to the target. 4. Exploitation. The payload is executed, exploiting vulnerabilities to breach the system. 5. Installation. Malware is installed to maintain a foothold. 6. Command and control. C2. The attacker establishes remote communication. 7. Actions on objectives. Data exfiltration, sabotage, or other goals are carried out. The exploitation phase is the execution step that allows the attacker to begin taking control. Without successful exploitation, the kill chain is effectively broken. 4. Types of exploits used. Exploitation strategies vary based on the attack vector, system type, and target profile. They can be classified into the following types. 4.1 Software vulnerabilities. Buffer overflows. Attackers overwrite memory to execute arbitrary code. SQL injection. Exploits poorly sanitized database queries. Cross-site scripting. XSS injects malicious scripts into trusted websites. Cross-site request forgery. CSRF tricks a user into submitting malicious requests. Remote code execution, RCE. Exploits that allow attackers to execute code from a remote location. Privilege escalation gains higher access levels through bugs or misconfigurations. 4.20-day exploits. Vulnerabilities that are unknown to the vendor and unpatched. Highly valuable and used in sophisticated attacks. Often sold in underground markets or developed by nation-states. 4.3 Social engineering exploits. Phishing, trick users into clicking malicious links or opening attachments. Spear phishing, targeted phishing with detailed victim information. Drive-by downloads, exploits vulnerabilities when users visit a compromised website. 4.4 Insider threat exploits. Leverage human behavior or disgruntled employees. May not require technical vulnerabilities, social or procedural weaknesses suffice. 5. Exploitation techniques. Let's examine common techniques that attackers use during the exploitation phase. 5.1 Exploit kits. Software packages that automate the process of finding and exploiting vulnerabilities. Often embedded in malicious websites. Examples: Angler, Neutrino, and RIG exploit kits. 5.2 Malicious macros and scripts. Embedded in Office documents or PDFs. Activated when the user enables macros or scripting. 5.3 Fileless exploitation. Uses legitimate tools e.g., PowerShell, WMI, to execute code in memory. Harder to detect since no files are written to disk. 5.4 Exploiting misconfigurations. Open ports, weak passwords, unpatched software, exposed admin interfaces. 5.5 Supply chain exploits. Infiltrate trusted software or hardware providers to implant exploits upstream. 6. Examples of real-world exploits. 6.1 Stuxnet, 2010. Exploited zero-day vulnerabilities in Windows systems. Targeted Siemens PLCs used in Iranian nuclear facilities. Sophisticated use of USB propagation and stealthy payload activation. 6.2 Eternal Blue, 2017. Exploited SMBV1 protocol vulnerability in Windows. Used by WannaCry ransomware to spread globally. Based on NSA-developed tools leaked by the shadow brokers. 6.3 SolarWinds supply chain attack, 2020. Exploited trust in Orion software updates. Planted backdoor, Sunburst, in legitimate software. Triggered exploitation in numerous government and corporate networks. 7. Tools used for exploitation. Attackers use a variety of tools to automate or facilitate the exploitation phase. Metasploit Framework, an open-source tool for developing and executing exploits. Cobalt Strike, a commercial tool for adversary simulation, often abused by attackers. Powersploit, PowerShell-based tools for post-exploitation. Empire, post-exploitation framework using PowerShell agents. Exploit Database, ExploitDB, a repository of known exploits. 8. Mitigation and defense strategies. Stopping exploitation is a key goal of cybersecurity defenses. Key strategies include 8.1 Patch management. Regularly update systems, software, and devices. Use automated patch deployment tools. 8.2 Vulnerability scanning. Identify and remediate known weaknesses before they are exploited. Use tools like Nessus, OpenVAS, or Qualys. 8.3 Endpoint detection and response, EDR. Monitor and analyze activity on endpoints. Detect abnormal behaviors indicative of exploitation. 8.4 Application whitelisting. Prevent unauthorized code from running. Block scripts and executables not explicitly approved. 8.5 Intrusion detection and prevention systems, IDS/IPS. Detect or block exploit attempts in real time. Use signature-based and behavior-based detection. 8.6 Least privilege principle. Restrict user and process permissions to the minimum necessary. Reduce impact if exploitation occurs. 8.7 Security awareness training. Teach users to recognize phishing and other social engineering tactics. Emphasize caution with email attachments and links. 9. Exploitation in Advanced Persistent Threats, APTs. APTs are prolonged and targeted attacks often associated with nation-states. In APT campaigns, exploitation is highly customized and stealthy. Zero-day vulnerabilities and sophisticated delivery mechanisms are common. Exploitation may be chained with lateral movement and privilege escalation to expand access. Examples of APT exploits: APT28/Fancy Bear using Microsoft Word macros. APT29/Cozy Bear using Windows DLL injection. 10. Legal and ethical considerations. 10.1 Offensive security. Ethical hackers may use controlled exploitation in penetration testing. Tools like Metasploit are used under strict authorization. 10.2 Responsible disclosure. Researchers finding vulnerabilities report them to vendors under coordinated disclosure practices. Unethical exploitation without consent is illegal and punishable under laws like the CFAA, Computer Fraud and Abuse Act in the U.S. 11. The future of exploitation. As technologies evolve, exploitation techniques are expected to become more AI-driven, enabling autonomous decision-making and targeting. Stealthier, using encrypted C2 channels and advanced evasion. Fileless and memory-resident, evading traditional defenses. Cloud-specific, targeting container orchestration, serverless platforms, and SaaS applications. The growing use of zero-trust architectures, behavioral analytics, and threat intelligence will play vital roles in mitigating these risks. The exploitation phase of the cyber kill chain is the fulcrum on which cyber attacks pivot from planning to action. A deep understanding of exploitation techniques, tools, and defenses is essential for organizations seeking to strengthen their cybersecurity posture. Modern threats are increasingly complex, blending human, technical, and organizational weaknesses. Hence, mitigation strategies must be layered, adaptive, and continuously updated. By focusing on early detection, patch management, and user education, defenders can often prevent exploitation entirely, disrupting the kill chain and protecting critical assets. Installation in the cyber kill chain. 1. Introduction. The cyber kill chain, introduced by Lockheed Martin, is a conceptual framework that breaks down the stages of a cyber attack into 7 steps. It helps organizations understand how cyber attacks unfold and where defenses can be applied to disrupt them. The 7 steps are: 1. Reconnaissance. 2. Weaponization. 3. Delivery. 4. Exploitation. 5. Installation. 6. Command and control, C2. 7. Actions on objectives. This document focuses on the installation phase, which immediately follows successful exploitation and is critical for establishing long-term attacker access. 2. Definition of the installation phase. The installation phase involves the attacker setting up a persistent mechanism within the victim's environment. After exploiting a vulnerability, step 4, the attacker installs malware or tools that allow continued access and further control over the compromised system. This phase typically includes dropping malware, e.g., Trojans, remote access tools, modifying registry settings, installing services or drivers, creating scheduled tasks or startup scripts, deploying rootkits for stealth and privilege escalation. The attacker's goal is persistence, to remain in the environment without detection. 3. Objectives of installation. Establish a foothold in the victim's system. Ensure persistence through reboots or user logouts. Prepare the environment for command and control, C2, operations. Set up infrastructure for privilege escalation and lateral movement. 4. Common malware types used for installation. 4.1 Remote access Trojans, RATs. Allow remote control of the victim's system. Examples: New Jersey Rat, Dark Comet, Quasar. 4.2 Backdoors. Hidden entry points created to maintain access. Often implanted in legitimate applications or OS components. 4.3 Rootkits. Conceal presence of malware by modifying the OS or kernel. Operate at deep system levels for stealth. 4.4 Downloaders and droppers. Droppers. Small files that install more advanced malware. Downloaders retrieve payloads from attacker-controlled servers post-exploitation. 5. Techniques used for installation. Attackers use various methods to install malware and ensure persistence. 5.1 File system modifications. Copying malware to hidden directories. Renaming executables to mimic legitimate files. 5.2 Registry edits, Windows. Modifying run keys to launch malware at startup. Inserting malicious entries in HKLM or HKCU paths. 5.3 Scheduled tasks and cron jobs. Automatically run malware at specific intervals or startup. 5.4 DLL injection. Injecting malicious code into legitimate processes, e.g., Explorer.exe. 5.5 WMI, Windows Management Instrumentation. Creating persistent scripts via WMI events. 5.6 Bootkits. Malware loaded during the boot process, before the OS loads. Extremely difficult to detect and remove. 6. Fileless persistence. Advanced attackers may avoid writing to disk to evade detection. Use PowerShell scripts, WMI, and registry-based storage. Memory resident malware that disappears upon reboot unless reloaded by scripts. 7. Real-world examples. 7.1 APT28, Fancy Bear. Used malicious Microsoft Office macros to install custom malware, e.g., Xagent. Achieved persistence through scheduled tasks. 7.2 SolarWinds attack, 2020. Attackers implanted the Sunburst backdoor into legitimate Orion software updates. Installed covert access via DLL sideloading. 7.3 WannaCry ransomware. After exploiting systems with Eternal Blue, it installed ransomware payloads and locked files. 8. Detection and prevention. 8.1 Endpoint detection and response, EDR. Monitors for suspicious process creation, script execution, and file changes. 8.2 Application whitelisting. Only approved applications can execute, blocking unknown installation attempts. 8.3 Behavior-based monitoring. Detects patterns typical of installation, e.g., registry modifications, service creation. 8. For file integrity monitoring. Watches for unauthorized changes to critical system files and directories. 8.5 Antivirus and anti-malware tools. Signature and heuristic analysis to detect known installation patterns. 9. Defense strategies. Least privilege, prevent malware from installing by limiting user permissions. Patch management, prevent the initial exploitation that enables installation. Segmentation, limit where attackers can install and spread malware. Security awareness, train users to avoid executing suspicious files or enabling macros. The installation phase is vital for attackers to establish a persistent, hidden presence in the target environment. It's also a critical opportunity for defenders to detect and disrupt an attack before the adversary gains full control. By understanding common installation techniques, using layered defenses, and monitoring for indicators of persistence, organizations can break the cyber kill chain and prevent further compromise. Command and Control, C2, in the cyber kill chain. 1. Introduction. The cyber kill chain, developed by Lockheed Martin, outlines the stages of a cyber attack in a structured sequence. Its goal is to help organizations detect, prevent, and respond to attacks by understanding attacker behavior. 2. What is Command and Control, C2? Command and Control, C2, is the phase where the attacker establishes a secure, reliable communication channel with the compromised system. This allows the attacker to issue commands remotely, receive stolen data, update malware, expand the attack into other systems. The C2 infrastructure acts as the adversary's hands and eyes inside the victim network. 3. Purpose of the C2 phase. The main objectives of command and control are: maintain remote access to the infected host, issue instructions such as data collection, lateral movement, or payload execution, exfiltrate stolen data securely, update, delete, or uninstall malware, hide attacker presence and avoid detection. C2 is essential for advanced persistent threats, APTs, where attackers need prolonged access for espionage, data theft, or sabotage. 4. C2 communication models. 4.1 Centralized model. All infected machines communicate with a single server, e.g., HTTP, IRC. Easier to manage for attackers. Easier to detect and shut down. 4.2 Decentralized, P2P, model. Infected hosts communicate with each other in a peer-to-peer fashion. More resilient, no single point of failure. Examples: Zero Access Botnet, Conficker. 4.3 Hybrid model. Combines centralized and P2P models. Offers command efficiency and resilience. 5. C2 communication channels. Attackers use a variety of channels for command and control. These may include 5.1 HTTP/HTTPS. Most common method. Blends in with regular web traffic. Uses encrypted channels, HTTPS, to evade inspection. 5.2 DNS, domain name system. Used for data exfiltration or beaconing. Harder to detect because DNS is widely allowed. 5.3 Social media and legitimate platforms. Twitter, Pastebin, Telegram used to send encoded commands. Traffic seems legitimate, avoiding suspicion. 5.4 Email or messaging apps. Compromised systems check for instructions sent via email or chat apps. 5.5 Custom protocols. Built by sophisticated attackers to evade detection. Often use proprietary encryption and ports. 5.6 Covert channels. Embedding C2 traffic in normal protocols like ICMP, VoIP, or even video/audio streams. 6. Beaconing behavior. Compromised machines often beacon, send regular pings to the C2 server, waiting for instructions. Timing, periodic, e.g., every hour, or random to avoid detection. Content, encrypted or encoded. Channel, HTTP GET/POST, DNS/TXT records, etc. Detection of beaconing is a strong indicator of compromise. 7. Techniques used for stealth. To remain undetected, attackers use multiple evasion techniques. 7.1 Encryption. SSL/TLS hides C2 traffic content. May use domain fronting or custom certificates. 7.2 Domain Generation Algorithms, DGAs. Malware generates pseudo-random domains, e.g., ASD98DOF.com, to reach C2 servers. Hard to block because of constantly changing destinations. 7.3 Fast Flux DNS. Rapidly changes IP addresses of C2 domains. Hosted on botnets to resist takedowns. 7.4 Protocol Mimicry. C2 traffic mimics benign protocols, e.g., mimicking Skype, HTTP, or Dropbox traffic. 7.5 Living off the land, LOTL. Use of legitimate tools like PowerShell, WMI, and SearchIDLE to communicate without dropping new binaries. 8. Real-world examples. 8.1 APT29, Cozy Bear. Used HTTPS and custom encryption for stealthy C2 channels. Leveraged Microsoft Azure and Dropbox for traffic disguise. 8.2 SolarWinds, Sunburst Backdoor. Used HTTP with encoded data in headers. C2 infrastructure was distributed and stealthy. 8.3 TrickBot Banking Trojan. Used multiple redundant C2 servers. Adapted to law enforcement takedowns with Fast Flux and DGA. 9. Detection techniques. Organizations can detect C2 activity using 9.1 Network traffic analysis. Monitor for anomalies in outbound traffic. Unusual connections to rare domains or IPs. Traffic on unusual ports or with abnormal payload sizes. 9.2 DNS monitoring. Detect suspicious domain lookups, especially DGA domains. Identify large volumes of DNS queries. 9.3 Threat intelligence. Use feeds of known C2 IP/domains. Correlate with internal logs to detect matches. 9.4 Endpoint detection and response (EDR). Look for process creation linked to network access. Monitor PowerShell, CMD, WMI, and scripting behavior. Exfiltration in the cyber kill chain. 1. Overview. The cyber kill chain, developed by Lockheed Martin, is a strategic model to understand and defend against cyber attacks. It divides an attack into 7 distinct phases. 1. Reconnaissance. 2. Weaponization. 3. Delivery. 4. Exploitation. 5. Installation. 6. Command and control, C2. 7. Exfiltration/actions on objectives. The exfiltration phase, sometimes combined with actions on objectives, refers to the act of removing stolen data from the victim's environment to an attacker-controlled location. This phase often follows successful infiltration and control of a target network. 2. Definition of exfiltration. Exfiltration is the unauthorized transfer of data from a compromised system to a system controlled by the attacker. The data may include intellectual property, customer databases, credentials, financial information, emails and internal communications, strategic documents. Attackers use stealthy, encrypted, and covert methods to evade detection by security systems. 3. Goals of the attacker. Theft of sensitive data for espionage, sale, or ransom. Financial gain through identity theft, fraud, or selling data on dark web. Destructive purposes, such as public exposure or operational disruption. Maintaining access by stealing credentials or tokens. 4. Common exfiltration techniques. 4.1 Standard protocols. Attackers use legitimate protocols to hide exfiltration among regular traffic. HTTP/HTTPS, encrypted traffic looks like normal web traffic. FTP/SFTP, file transfer tools are misused for data export. SMTP, data is emailed out in attachments or body content. DNS, data is encoded in DNS queries and sent to attacker-controlled servers. 4.2 Cloud and storage services. Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, and AWS S3 buckets are used to receive exfiltrated data. Blends with legitimate cloud traffic. 4.3 Covert channels. Embedding data in images, videos, or other innocuous files, steganography. Hiding data in ICMP, VoIP, or even social media. 4.4 Physical exfiltration. Use of USB drives or mobile devices by insiders or compromised employees. 4.5 File splitting and compression. Large files are split into smaller chunks, compressed, and encrypted before exfiltration. Used to bypass data size or time-based detection systems. 4.6 Living off the land, LODL. Tools like PowerShell, Certudal, or BitsAdmin are used to transfer files. Avoids installing new tools that could trigger alerts. 5. Staging and preparation. Before actual exfiltration, attackers stage data. Collect and organize stolen information in a temporary location. Compress and encrypt it to prevent detection and preserve integrity. Remove metadata or watermarks that could trace data sources. 6. Advanced exfiltration techniques. 6.1 Domain fronting. Hides destination of traffic by using a trusted domain, e.g., Google or Amazon, as a disguise. Difficult to detect using traditional traffic analysis. 6.2 DGA-based exfiltration. Uses domain generation algorithms to send data to frequently changing domain names. 6.3 Exfiltration over USB. Malware that transfers files to inserted USBs automatically. Used in air-gapped or highly secure environments. 6.4 Encrypted channels and tunnels. Use of VPNs, SSH tunnels, or Tor for stealthy data export. 7. Real-world examples. 7.1 APT10, Cloud Hopper. Exfiltrated intellectual property and confidential data from major managed service providers, MSPs. Used multiple encrypted channels and staging servers. 7.2 Equifax breach, 2017. Personal information of over 140 million Americans was exfiltrated via encrypted web sessions. Attackers used standard web protocols and moved slowly to evade detection. 7.3 Edward Snowden NSA leak. Insider threat case. Used physical media, USBs, and encryption to smuggle sensitive NSA documents. 8. Indicators of exfiltration. Large or unusual volumes of outbound traffic. Encrypted traffic to unfamiliar destinations. DNS queries with long or unusual payloads. Unscheduled or automated use of compression tools. Use of LaDL tools in non-standard contexts, e.g., PowerShell transferring files to the web. 9. Detection and prevention. 9.1 Data loss prevention, DLP. Detects and blocks sensitive data from leaving the network. Applies content inspection, fingerprinting, and policy enforcement. 9.2 Network monitoring and logging. Alerts on large data transfers, especially during off hours. Traffic pattern anomalies. 9.3 Endpoint detection and response, EDR. Tracks file access, compression, and unusual network connections. Detects use of tools like PowerShell or rclone in data staging. 9.4 Segmentation and least privilege. Limits the access users and processes have to sensitive data. Prevents lateral movement to data repositories. 9.5 User and Entity Behavior Analytics, UEBA. Analyzes baseline behavior to detect anomalies. For example, if an HR employee suddenly downloads database files, it would trigger an alert. 10. Mitigation strategies. Encrypt sensitive data at rest and in transit. Apply access control policies to sensitive files and folders. Block or restrict outbound protocols not required for business, e.g., FTP, IRC. Regular audits and monitoring for sensitive data exposure. Use decoy files, honey tokens, to detect unauthorized access and track exfiltration attempts. Threat intelligence to identify known exfiltration tools and IP addresses. 11. Challenges in defending against exfiltration. Blending with legitimate traffic, attackers use allowed protocols and known domains. Encryption prevents content inspection. Insider threats, exfiltration may be initiated by authorized users. Time shifting, exfiltration is spread over time to avoid detection by volume-based alarms. 12. Conclusion. The exfiltration phase is often the ultimate goal of cyber attacks, especially in espionage and financially motivated operations. It involves careful planning, stealthy execution, and a range of techniques to avoid detection. Preventing and detecting exfiltration requires a multi-layered defense strategy. Monitor data movement across endpoints and networks. Limit access to critical data. Use intelligent security tools like DLP, EDR, and UEBA. Continuously analyze logs, behavior patterns, and threat intelligence. Stopping data from leaving your environment is often the last chance to prevent damage once attackers are inside. Vigilance and visibility are key.